is just a dumb decision. All the people that are around football are like, if they do this, what else will they do? If they do this, what else will they do? If you take away tackling somebody from the side, what else are they going to take away?
I understand what the NFL is trying to do by making the game safer, but what they're really doing is making it unsafe for defenders.
Full speed contact football, and we're not doing that. I feel like I got to ask a guy, hey, are you ready for me to hit you right now before I hit you? And that's crazy. I'm going to mess around and get hurt trying to protect an offensive player because he's running an over route. Your quarterback shouldn't have threw that ball messed up.
Ladies and gentlemen, the NFL has done it yet again by ruining the sport with more rule changes. This time, I think one we may grow accustomed to, and the other one, you literally can't tackle anybody anymore.
A guy fell back. Guys on the offense now are going to start.
Oh, yeah. Every time.
Oh,
yeah.
my. We didn't even think about guys with the ball
Flopping.
in that competition committee. Did we, Rich McKay, who we're probably going to see tomorrow? Did we think about that? Where guys are going to be taught, probably, hey, we can't say this in drills and we can't be doing this, but, you know, you get tackled from the side or behind, you just kind of go ahead and throw
back.
And in the name of safety with brand new rule, we're going to get it.
Now let me get this out of the way and say that I'm by no means saying don't look out for the safety of these players and their well-being, but at the same time, you need to be able to kind of make sure that as a whole, the rules for defense are as equal as for the rules on offense. And right now, it's completely offensive and there is no rule that can make defense any better, I think.
But guess what, guys? They want scoring to go back up. It's about to go back up now because it's going to make it a lot more difficult for guys to tackle. The problem that I do have with the NFL, guys, is that say we're trying to make the game safer, but all the while you're at a 17th game, and now you're looking to add an 18th game. So I don't give me this. This is about the safety of the game.
Question becomes, what's next? Is it now you can't tackle at the knees? Now you can't tackle at all from behind. Now you can't cut block. And yes, these are things that create injury. We have to, at some point, come to grips with the NFL being a 100% injury rate for players. You're going to get hurt. Anything head-related, anything that will affect your life mentally going forward, we understand. But we as all players understand there is an opportunity to go out there and there is a chance you will be injured. Last season, lower extremity injuries were at a 4-year low. So my question is, who asked for this?
Like, instead we're worried about a kickoff rule that's just a joke in itself, but that's for later. That's a whole nother thing in itself that we're going to talk about. Now, as it stands right now, the most talked about thing in the NFL is either Caleb Williams and his pink nails, or it's the hip drop tackle that honestly became a big thing when Geno Smith had this happen to him on a Monday Night Football game, I believe, and he threw a big fit about it. Also not considering the fact that also players have been injured from this, considering guys like Mark Andrews, who had pretty much his whole season taken from him because of a tackle like this. And then last year also Tony Pollard, who also did get tackled in this fashion and also fractured his fibula because of it. And again, I'm not saying that these are bad things that I want to have keep happening, but the fact that they just incorporated this in a fashion where there honestly is no really criteria to this. And I mean, the refs are going to be making split-second decisions on these tackles. It's just going to be so tough for these refs to be making these kind of judgment calls in the moment. Like, I mean, look at it this way. These guys can barely get defensive and offensive pass interference calls right. What in their right mind thinks that these guys are going to be able to call these hip drop tackles in split-second fashion and get them right every single time? Like, I mean, it's just such a bang type of play, and any tackle can really be almost summed up to a hip drop tackle if it's a chase down tackle. And as I said before, this is like split-second things that are happening. We already have games being decided by pass interference calls, like in the Super Bowl. I can't wait to see what happens with one of these play calls when it ruins a playoff game or some guy loses $1 billion because of it. Like, this rule is absolutely going to make sure that guys are, yes, they'll be safer, but also it's just going to add a lot more of that gray area in the sport that really I believe we don't need. And just for context, normally the referees will get extra practice by being able to practice certain scenarios and calls in training camps of that nature, but the referees aren't going to be able to practice these calls and call them in training camp, as teams obviously aren't going to allow these types of tackles to happen in practice. And this is honestly just a thing that they're only going to see on game days. And now just for some clarification, the rule does specifically read, and I'm quoting it directly, to eliminate a potentially dangerous tackling technique, it is a foul if a player uses the following technique to bring a runner to the ground. And it has 3 bullet points. Grabs the runner with both hands and wraps up the runner with both arms, and unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lower body, landing and trapping the runner's legs at or below the knee. Penalty for a hip drop tackle, loss of 15 yards, and an automatic first down. Now, as I'm playing this footage that is showing on the screen right now, this is actual stuff that was shown at the official meetings and are types of tackles that they want to try to eliminate. And while yes, some of those do look bad and also could lead to injury, I mean, how else would you want for these guys to tackle offensive players? Like, I mean, when you're looking at the bigger guys in the NFL, the Derrick Henrys of the league, the George Kittles, like the AJ Browns, those big menacing players that are just giant freaks of nature. How else are you going to be able to tackle these guys? There's really no other way, especially it's just instinctual to want to, like, when you're coming up against Derrick Henry and you don't want to be thrown like Josh Norman, you literally have to try and wrap up his legs and take away his engine. And like, I know that everybody says this, but I think it's more than truer than ever now, is that this literally is just a completely offensive driven game. Like, yes, I understand that people want to see more points. They want to see touchdowns and everything. There's really no way for there to be any defense played anymore, especially with this new rule. And I mean, even when looking at some of the plays that are chase down tackles and are clean tackles at that, yes, they're clean, a lot are going to be considered a penalty under this new rule. And honestly, I think what my biggest problem about this new rule is that not only is it just another penalty for the defense to have to abide by, but it's so much more punishing to the defense, and it just honestly annihilates any defensive momentum that can be caused in a game, that there's no equivalent penalty to one of these style of penalties on the offensive side of the ball either. And let me explain that a little bit easier for you. Like, as these show up on the screen and I show these, these are the penalties and how they are. Defensive pass interference is a spot foul and an automatic first down, which is huge. That literally just annihilates the defense in any way, shape, or form. Meanwhile, offensive pass interference is a 15-yard penalty and a repeat of the same down. Okay, like, that just doesn't add up already. Now, if we continue going, offensive holding is 10 yards from the spot and a repeat of the down. Again, a repeat of the down. Defensive holding is 5 yards and an automatic first down. At this point, the defense is literally just giving the offense free first downs for nothing, for absolutely nothing. Now, yes, this list does go on, but the fact that it's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down, I think that's what's the toughest part about these penalties, is that it's again just giving the defense more and more opportunities to continue their drive, and there's really no punishing way to counteract that on the defense either. Like, besides intentional grounding, which they need to keep that rule, which I hope never goes away, can you name another penalty that is just like a defensive free first down? Like, is there not a penalty that should say automatically punt the ball to the opposing team or loss of down? Again, besides intentional grounding, there needs to be more of these penalties on the offense that causes them to really rethink what their strategies are and make it a little bit easier for the defense. And as I used in the examples before, defensive pass interference is a penalty that literally just annihilates the defense. Like, a dude by the name of Joe Flacco made a whole entire career off of that single one penalty, just throwing up deep passes and hoping for a flag. And as I said before, I know it's tough to come up with some opportunities for the defense to maybe get some of those yards back, or even just have an equal opportunity that also would equate to those harsher penalties, but they need to at least try to start involving maybe some more loss of down penalties for the offense in order to make it a little bit equal for the defensive players. Like, at this point, the defensive players are just they have so many rules to abide by. They really can't tackle anybody. They can't touch an offensive player. Like, things are starting to get out of hand. And I mean, former players have even gone on to talk about this topic and say what they think about the NFL banning this type of tackle.
No idea. If you asked me to pull up videos and show you what a hip drop tackle was, or if you asked me to demonstrate a hip drop tackle, I wouldn't be able to do it. I I don't understand. Like they're. Oh, jeez, I'm flustered. Like I'm just angry about it. Like,
what, JJ?
How many more ways?
You know what it is.
How many more ways are we going to take away from defenders being able to do their jobs? And like with the fines, we got running backs now that can't lower their shoulder to protect themselves. Like you can't tackle this way, you can't tackle that way. Like if we are moving to flag football, let's just say it. Like let's just come out and say it. Let's just do that. Let's just move it faster along. Let's not play this game of song and dance. Like okay, we're going to take this out for the safety. We're going to take that out for the safety, but we're still going to play on Thursdays. We're going to play overseas on short sleep and bad. Like if we're going to do it, let's do it. And let's not like joke about it and lie about it and try and like make people think this or that. Like it does. I don't know, man. Like it's football. You got to get the guy on the ground. If you don't, you're going to get yelled at. It's a violent game. It's always been a violent game. You know what you're getting into when you decide to play the game. Like, I don't know what you want.
And in all honesty, I personally really don't think that the NFL made this rule for the safety of the players.
Running down the sideline. Oh! Boom! Did you see that hit? Boom! Jackson stopped at the 45, and he is slow to get up. That was a great hit, boys. Remember that at practice tomorrow.
Yeah, Jackson took a real shot, and I'm not sure what he's doing now, but
It appears as though he's looking for his keys, Dan.
yeah, and that doesn't make a lot of sense because ever since his concussion in 06, he doesn't even have a license.
Coach Martin's coming over to tell him that now, but Jackson appears to think he's in a car driving home.
Like, again, I'm not saying I don't want player safety to be a big thing. I want these guys to have longevity and be able to live their lives outside of football. But at the end of the day, it's all about the money. And one thing that they know for sure makes the NFL money is higher scoring games. And honestly, I think that's why they're banning this type of tackle and creating sort of this gray area for games to, one, cause greater scoring matches and just maybe even, I don't want to say they're hoping for refs to maybe make mistakes, but they're putting them in a tougher position to make these calls to allow the offense to stay on the field and again, score more points. Because I mean, at the end of the day, even if you look at baseball, if you're not scoring points, people and fans are going to stop watching your sport. So now in summary, I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles look like geniuses for signing Saquon. The Baltimore Ravens are going to win a Super Bowl because they have Lamar Jackson and now what looks to be an unstoppable Derrick Henry because nobody's going to be able to tackle the guy. And I mean, it's about to be a hell of a year and we're going to see how many games are actually ruined and stopped because of this rule that honestly just causes such a tough gray area for the refs and players to play in. But I want to know what you guys think. As always, let me know in the comment section below. Is this a good rule change or is this one of the worst rule changes that we've ever heard and ever come up with that we might have to revert back to? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.